All right, so here we are with part 2, development, and obviously this is the one where everyone is very interested about. There's lots of material, as I said, that talks about developing in Monday.com. There's thousands of videos that you can really go and access. In fact, I'll explain later, I've even got a free course around the development side of things, okay? And there's a couple of things that you need to really consider. So first off, anyone can really develop a system in Monday.com, but you really want someone that will be able to get the full value of the system. And you really should consider who should be building the solutions. And typically, what I find, it's very good to have someone that's very process and systems orientated. So if you can think of someone like that in the organization, they also need to have a little bit of an understanding around data analytics, and they need to have a certain level of data literacy. Because obviously you're building the report in order to kind of you're building the system in order to build the reports later down the line. So they need to kind of understand the data points that they need to collect, okay? And they also need to kind of be really good with regards to technology. They need to be able to learn quite quickly, especially if you're bringing in Monday.com at the beginning. You need someone that can just look at a system and after a day or two, like really, really hone on it. And there's some seriously amazing people out there that have been able to build amazing things in such a short amount of time. But then these are very experienced individuals. Okay, so really think about who should build the solution. And then remember what I spoke about with my key man issue. It might not just be one. You might want a couple of people to be working on the solutions. Don't just make it one person. If it's the owner, I understand that obviously you have more control there, but you can get sick and you could end up in hospital. So that's what I'm saying. Be very careful about who you choose to build the solution. Make certain that it's not just one person. The next thing is that you need to consider the Monday.com build best practices, and they are, okay? I know it's easy to build on Monday.com, and Monday.com is like this open canvas, and you can just go absolutely nuts with what you build in here. I love this tool because I can build anything I really want to, and then with third-party integration tools and be able to leverage the API, you can go crazy. But you have to understand the best practices, and you need to understand the limitations of the tool itself. So you need to understand, okay, well, let me see if I can come up with a couple of examples. So for instance, what is the best way for a user to input information into the board? What is the best hierarchy to put this? What is the best way for them to view this information? What is the best way to determine what the trigger is going to be? Should we use a button? Should we use a status? And you really need to understand a lot of the best practices in order to get the full value of the system itself. And it takes time to actually get that. So yeah, really consider the Monday.com build best practices. The third one is that Monday.com does integrate with a lot of apps, and you can easily go in and integrate. But you might be going into the integrations and saying, I don't see my app here. It doesn't mean that Monday.com doesn't integrate with it. Okay? You still can. But it does take a little bit more effort in order to actually get that to work. So you need to know how to integrate with apps not in the native integrations within Monday.com. You see, Monday.com has got an open API. Right, so if you have a little bit of API knowledge, you would be able to create streams where you'd be able to connect app 1 with Monday.com and app 2 with Monday.com and app 3 and so on. And then if you haven't really got a developer abilities, then you can also use third-party tools like Zapier and Meg. And again, then you kind of need someone also a bit technically minded that understands the best practices with there. Because the problem is that, especially with automations and integrations, you need to understand that automations and integrations come at a cost. Okay, automations, integrations are not free. So with Monday.com, you have, for Pro version, standard you have 250 automations. Pro you have 225,000, and then Enterprise you have 250,000 integrations. Okay, I never bother with the standard plan. I mean, if you're going to automate 250 actions, I mean, what's the bloody point? I always typically look at Pro. But you have 25,000 automations and 25,000 integrations. Now the difference between an automation and an integration, an automation is basically an activity that is happening internally within Monday.com. An integration is when Monday.com is connecting with a third-party application. So that means, in essence, you've got 25,000 automation opportunities plus another 25,000 integration activities. The one thing that you have to consider, though, is once you run out of the 25,000, it does push you up to the next tier, which is enterprise, 250,000. And it's very hard to knock that number. It's possible, but you need to understand exactly what should you automate and so on. And that's actually the fourth point that I wanted to mention, is like what should be automated, and then obviously they need to be able to automate it. Don't just automate everything. Really think about the value of the automation, understand how it's going to help you. Is it going to make someone's life easier? Is it going to improve the data quality of your reports? Why should you automate it? Because the more you automate, eventually the more your licensing costs are going to be. Okay. And again, there's so much more to discuss about the development side, but the most important aspect of development is this. Yes. Keep it simple, stupid. When I started building Monday.com, I wanted to show off how clever I was by building these systems that looked amazing, and there was so much automation, but it was complicated, really complicated. And I was dumb. That was stupid. Really, try and keep it simple as possible. I kid you not, this is the most important thing that you need to focus on when you're building a Monday.com. Monday.com is a very simple system to use, but I promise you, you can make it complicated. It's very easy to make it complicated. So keep it simple. Your users are going to thank you for doing that, and it's just going to make training and onboarding so much more simpler. So yeah, absolutely keep it simple. All right, and as I was mentioning, is that the first thing that you really need to do is you need to understand the functionality of Monday.com really well before you start building them. Just get to know the system a little bit better. And what I've done is I have created a course called How to Use 80% of Monday.com in just 75 minutes. Okay, your time is precious. I understand that. In Monday.com, really, it is very easy to kind of go through 80% of the functions. And you can really understand a lot of that in this course. I will attach the link below so you can go through that course. It's free. I don't even need your email. It's literally just a link and a website that I put together, and you can just go through each one. I think there's roughly about 16 plus tutorial videos. We talk about the workspaces, privacy, security, views, automations, integrations, lots and lots of stuff. So if you want to go take a look at that, you can easily just click on the link and it'll take you there. All right, but there we go. That is basically part 2 of the program. And what we're going to do is we're going to go talk about part 3, the documentation side, and I'll see you in that next video.